Hey guys, welcome into another edition of the Coach's Corner Show presented by PES and Martin Methodist College. Wade Neely here, interim head coach Scott Blair. Coach Blair, congrats on your first career victory as the interim head coach, 56-46 2 weeks ago against Spring Hill on homecoming.
I tell you, we've had a rough year coming into it. A lot of things have gone on the past few weeks at the school that has been distracting for lots of people. But our kids are resilient, they're focused, and we kind of challenged them this last week to set a new trend for the rest of the season, and we accomplished that.
You challenged your seniors, or at least you said after the game on Friday 2 weeks ago, you wanted to challenge your seniors, and boy, oh boy, did you get an effort from your talented tailback in Jordan Tucker. He's actually playing quarterback right now, but Jordan rushing for over 300 yards. The Bobcats put over 500 yards of rushing as a team together. Why was the offensive line, why was Jordan, why was Arkell Reed, the running back, so effective on Friday?
It was like you said, we challenged our seniors. We got a group of 17 seniors that have not played this year the way they wanted to play for whatever reason. But we've challenged them in the weight room. We challenged them on the field to take up some leadership roles. And our offensive line and Jordan Tucker, they've really stepped up this past 2 weeks, really, and led our football team into a place where we need to be.
Did you notice anything right away as far as when you challenged those guys, the energy of the team? Were things different heading into Friday, did you feel? Or?
Not a whole lot different. We had a great week of practice. Our energy level was good. And I told the guys, when you walk between the white lines, whether it's at practice, whether you lay down on the bench, whether it's in the weight room, you got to tune everything else out. You got to tune out what you hear, different things, and we're a family at that point. We're a family on the football field, we're a family in the weight room, and then obviously on Friday nights we're a family, and we played like that this last week.
You guys developed some leadership going forward, it sounds maybe like.
Absolutely. We put Jordan obviously in the backfield. Arkell Reed has really stepped up tremendously the last 2 weeks, Kenwood and Spring Hill. The offensive line has kind of developed a new mentality. They want us to run the ball every single time. The last few years here we've had some success. It's really been throwing the ball behind, had some big playmakers, and this year our playmakers are in the backfield. And so our offensive line knows that, and they want to set their school records like they did this last week.
And we saw the Cats pretty much running the football the entirety of the game. They can throw it, of course. We'll talk a little bit more about Jordan's passing ability, but it seems like you also really challenged the lines, both offensively and defensively for the Bobcats.
Right. We knew defensively coming in. Obviously, we didn't play a great game Friday night, giving up 46 points, but we knew Spring Hill was going to be explosive. They had a lot of team speed. And we didn't play as good as I had hoped, and that's something that I'm working on this week to try to reemphasize at practice, reading our keys and make sure we're following, our reads and things in the game. But we made the plays that we needed to make in the second half. Obviously, in the first half, we struggled quite a bit, gave up some big plays. But when it comes down to it, we had some guys step up. Tanner Hawley stepped up with a big interception. Elias Whitsitt intercepted a two-point conversion attempt that really swung the game into our favor.
And as a defensive coordinator, was that aggravating, or was that were you gritting your teeth during the game? What was your emotional status during the game? You see a team score 46 points, but you get the win.
It's tough to swallow defensively. I'm not going to lie. I mean, obviously, we didn't have a stop in the first half at all. But when we've got Coach Flippo and his offense running the ball so well, being so successful, if anything's easier to swallow, it's when you can give up 46 points and still get the W.
We had Coach Flippo on the program a couple of weeks ago. Was he smiling any larger than usual after the game Friday? His offense capped every drive but two with a touchdown.
Right. It was a sense of relief because we've all been frustrated as the season's gone on this year, being 0-6 coming in the game and getting our first win. So we were all excited to get a win, not only for us but for the kids, because sometimes people lose what the game's really about. It's not about adults. It's not about coaches. It's about putting the kids in the best situation to be successful, and we thought we did that Friday night.
Let's dive into a little bit more about your story here. Grew up in Giles County, from Giles County, well-known here, played football, played baseball, several other sports for the Bobcats. What was it like for you emotionally when you donned that gear Friday night as the interim head coach?
It was a wild week. I had a lot of support from the coaching staff around me. We kind of banded together. I said, I think last week on the radio, this isn't something that I did by myself. Hey, we're going to change everything we do. Coach Henderson, Coach Hayslip, Coach Flippo, and everybody else, we kind of did this together. We leaned on each other for support, developed a game plan, and thought we did pretty well on it with it Friday night.
Now, you've had experience with this on a previous staff. You've also had some experience in Murfreesboro. Kind of give the folks kind of your background. Obviously, an offensive player growing up, but defensive-minded now per se. What does a Scott Blair coach team look like?
Well, I worked under some great guys. I worked at Blackman High School for a couple of years under Bobby Wells. I went to Riverdale High School, also in Murfreesboro, under Ron Adelot, and he's more of an offensive guy. So I've been around both sides of the ball as far as the focus from a team standpoint. Obviously, I'm a defensive guy at heart, working with Coach Barger last year, who's obviously at Stewart's Creek this year. Learned a lot of things from him. And again, Coach Henderson on our staff, he's been a head coach before in Alabama. Coach Flippo's been in, coach football for over 20 years. We've got some guys with a lot of experience, and it wasn't anything I did. We worked together to develop our team chemistry this last week.
So not only chemistry with the football team, but also within the coaching ranks. It sounded like it really was all necessary to get that win last Friday.
Absolutely, and it's the players. We asked them, we challenged them to do certain things this week to remain focused through all the kind of turmoil, whatever you want to call it, the last few weeks with our record and other things, and they stepped up. They did big time, because it's not, like I said earlier, it's not about the coaching staff. We've got to put them in the best chance to succeed, but it's up to them to understand what we're asking of them and be successful on the field.
We haven't even mentioned it till now, but it was a critical win in terms of the region standings. You guys very much now kind of control your own fate going forward. Still 2 region games, including one Thursday against Page to play.
It's definitely a different outlook this year. Obviously, last year, we kind of snuck in, and it was the last minute. Did we get in? Did we not? With the way the playoffs were determined. But this year, being the top 4 in the region go, as bad as our record is right now at 1-6, we've got 2 more region games against Page, obviously, this Thursday, and then Tullahoma, the last game of the year. We can actually host a playoff game, and that's kind of what we're telling our kids. We're not satisfied with just making the playoffs. We want to get to the playoffs. We want to host a home game, and we want to make a run at it.
It was a bye week for Giles County. How did you guys bottle that emotion? Were you guys in a situation where you wanted to get right back out on the field last Friday, or do you like the week off after a big win?
It was good for the kids to have a weekend off. It was good for the coaches to have a weekend off. They kind of, got to soak in the win, enjoy it. A lot of kids, a lot of folks around town are patting them on the back saying, hey, keep going, we can do this. And then we came in 3 days this week, last week, 3 days last week and lifted, practiced hard, kind of spice some things up at practice, let the kids have a little fun, enjoy it, but still stay focused and get ready for Page this week.
It was also homecoming, not to add to all the distractions and the turmoil. How did you guys deal with that? Because that's kind of supposed to be a fun week, but at the same time, it was such a tumultuous week for you guys.
Right. Obviously, on Fridays, we kind of schools very limited in what you do in the classroom. The kids are, enjoying the parade, and we cooked hot dogs and hamburgers for the middle school teams, Bridgeforth and South Giles, and all them came over. So we got to enjoy some of the younger football players in Giles County and meet some of their coaches. And it gives the seniors and the juniors, they need to enjoy homecoming. It is all about football when at 7 o'clock kicks off on Fridays. But they're a teenager, they're in high school, and they need to enjoy those type of things.
Speaking of enjoying the moments, I heard you were enjoying the moment on a personal note. You've switched to Team iPhone. Give us the latest on this.
I did. It's a big step for me. I think other than maybe Coach Hayslip, who does not have a cell phone, I might have been the last man in the technology department on our staff. My wife was nice enough to purchase me one, and I've spent all weekend trying to figure out how to call somebody.
I look forward to chatting with you on the messages. Stick around, folks. Second half of our Coach's Corner show comes your way right after this. We'll talk Page. Bobcats are on the road this week, and it's a Thursday night game. We'll break it down when we come back on the other side. Presented by PES and Martin Methodist College, this is the Coach's Corner show.
Hi, I'm David Alford from the TV show Nashville, and I'm here to tell you about my college. Since 1870, Martin Methodist has paved the path to success for thousands of graduates. Just an hour south of Nashville, you'll find an affordable private college participating in the Tennessee Promise with an educational program designed for you to graduate in 4 years. Come visit us and experience the difference. Experience an education that's personal.
Redhawk fans, this Friday night, October 16th, the Redhawks have their biggest event of the year as they host the 3rd annual Redhawk 5K Glow and Fun Run. It's going to be a terrific event out at the Martin Methodist College indoor facility and the East Campus, a full 5K and Pulaski's only night race. It's the Redhawk 5K Glow Fun Run this Friday, October 16th. Registration begins at 8. The race kicks off at 9. Come join Pulaski's only night race, the Redhawk 5K Glow Fun Run. Welcome back, gang. Second half of the Coach's Corner show presented by PES and Martin Methodist College, rolling along. We're coming to you live from Sam Davis Park, where Giles County is in action this week, but it's a Thursday night game. They're on the road, and unfortunately, they're heading on the road up to Rutterville, where they're going to take on the Page Patriots, and we're talking with interim head coach Scott Blair. Coach Blair, kind of walk us through. This is a Thursday night game. Giles County's played 1 or 2 of these in years past, but this one will not be on television, as I understand it. What was the situation with Page wanting to play on Thursday this year?
Well, they called us back this summer, and Coach Rathbone, and they have fall break next week. And so he was a little concerned about the attendance to the ball game with, being Friday night, maybe people packing up, going to the beach. And he wants an environment, this is senior night for them, and he wants an environment to where they can appreciate their seniors and have a big crowd. So with us having a bye week last week, being off of school this week, that was something that we could accommodate.
So let the record show the Cats are doing the Patriots a favor this week on
Yes,
Thursday.
absolutely.
Okay, well, let's talk X's and O's then. Paige, they're off to a fantastic start this year, 5-2 overall, 2 losses by 1 point to 2 really good teams, Lipscomb Academy and then BGA, an overtime loss to BGA at that. What's the skinny on the Patriots? We know that they've been talented over the years. They've got some great playoff wins, but it sounds like they're really rolling up there in Rudderville.
They are. They've had a really good season. Like I said, both losses this year just by 1 point, one of those in overtime. They are very much more balanced this year. They've always thrown the ball well with the Mizell kid the last few years. This year they've got a good-looking quarterback, can sling the ball, but they've really got a good running back. Number 15, is kind of their leader. Against BGA, played a great game. They gave him the ball a lot. And he's really balanced them up more to where they're a little bit harder to prepare for since they're so balanced.
I was going to say, as a defensive guy, how scary is that when you see Paige, who you think pass, but now they can run the ball, it sounds like.
Absolutely. I mean, he's their best player without a doubt. They're still going to throw the ball about 50-50, like I said. We've tweaked some things up on defense this week, and we've adjusted some players and what their roles are going to be on the team. Obviously, we gave up some points last week, and we're looking for a spark. We've got the players that can do it. There's no doubt in my mind. We just got to put them, or I've got to put them in the right spot to be successful.
We look up at the matchups each and every week, and you kind of pinpoint, okay, it's the Giles County offense versus this team's defense. It sounds like this week the matchup is the Giles County defense versus the Page offense. From a scheme-wise, are you guys going to change much? It sounds like you may change just a little bit this week.
We're not going to completely throw away our defensive playbook. Obviously, it's too late in the year to do that, and it would be too hard of a change. But like I said, we've got more of a 4-man front coming this week, and we won't do that all the times, but we'll do it sometimes during the game to give the teams a different look. And again, to put kids in plays and positions to make plays for us. And that's what we've lacked the last couple of weeks. We've given up some points, obviously, to Kenwood and to Spring Hill last week. So, we're looking to obviously end that trend going forward and try to make it to run at the playoffs.
Maybe not giving away too much, but who are some guys we can look to see with maybe an increased role on that defensive line this week?
Defensive line, we're not going to make a lot of adjustments. Jordan Gilbert is going to go from outside linebacker to play a little bit of defensive end. He's a bigger athletic kid that we can have coming off the end. Secondary-wise, Josie Green's going to move to corner a little bit and play a little bit more at corner. And Elias Whitsitt obviously had a good game last week with a big 2-point conversion stop in the end zone. He's going to play a little bit more safety. So, we're not really changing a ton of things, but we are looking at some different kids and some spots they really hadn't played this year.
Let's get out to the second level, talk about the linebackers. Paige likes to spread the ball out. How critical is it for those linebackers to win those matchups when they go against the speedy receivers?
Absolutely. They're a really well-coached team, and they're going to take what we give them. We're actually talking about our players this last week. C.J. Bryant is another one. He's a freshman, really athletic kid. He's probably going to get to start this Thursday, and so because of his athleticism, we feel that he can cover those guys that they're going to try to get the balls to in the flats. They've got a good group of receivers. They don't really have a standout guy, but they're all very quick. Great hands and run really good routes.
Like Tanner Holly's matchups this week, he's going to be maybe locking down along with Alfie Westmoreland one of those 2 corner positions?
Right, yeah. Alfred's going to obviously be at one corner, Peyton Hall the other, and then Tanner's going to be the kind of safety that roll down to give us a little bit more help against the run because 15 is a good runner.
So let's switch gears now. The Cats racked up all sorts of school records last week, attempts, rushing yards, flirted with the points record right there, matching it in a previous year against Shelbyville. What schemes will you guys try and attack the Page defense with? They are a much improved defensive unit this year, it sounds like.
That's their biggest change from the last few years. Obviously, they put up points for a long time, and this year their defense is playing a lot better. But it's still something that we feel like, as good as we played the last couple of weeks up front, that it's not a task that our offensive line can't handle. We've got 2 really good running backs, obviously, in Jordan Tucker and Arkell, and we're going to put a couple other kids back there this week. We had Tanner Holly last week. Josie Green may get some looks in the backfield, and something that we want to exploit and keep fresh legs in the backfield.
It's kind of funny, Coach Rathbone, with all the offensive numbers, he is kind of a defensive-minded guy. What sort of tricks or wrinkles will you expect that he will bring to the table defensively?
Well, I expect after the last week that teams are going to crowd the line of scrimmage on us this week. And Jordan, threw a touchdown pass last week. I think he was 4 or 5. Coach Flippo jokes that he's leading the state as far as passing yards in 10 attempts or less for the state. So it's a weird stat. But Jordan can keep the defense honest with his arm. He's obviously not going to drop back and throw 20, 25 passes a game, and I think teams know that. But the more they cheat up, the more they kind of press coverage to stop our run, we can open them up.
We talked about Tanner and also Peyton Hall. How big of a game are those two guys going to have? Weren't really needed, I guess, necessarily in the win against Spring Hill a lot, but it is critical to have those guys involved, I would imagine, offensively.
Right. And I tell you that the thing that goes overlooked a lot of times is when you run the ball for 570 yards, you're blocking on the edges. Obviously, the offensive line played great, but Peyton Hall, Tanner, Josie Green, Austin Norwood a little bit, Jordan Gilbert we mentioned earlier on defense, they blocked unbelievably. And that springs those 7-8 yard runs into 15, 20, 30-yard runs because we're blocking outside.
You guys were going with that really just tight, heavy package for a lot of the game, but we did see you shift it out a little bit. Is that just for a little more looks along the offensive front there?
Right. We're going to, obviously the defense is going to crowd like Spring Hill did, and I think they blitzed just about every play all night long. Spreading them out kind of gives our offensive line a different look and lets us exploit a few weaknesses we see in the defense.
Let's talk special teams. Griffin Birdsong's got one of the best legs around. He's been up and down this season, but in terms of punting and kickoffs, he's been fantastic. Give us an update on the special teams unit heading into Thursday's matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Griffin was 8 of 8 on extra points last week. He had 3 touchbacks and punted the ball. Just the one time I think is all he punted last week. But
the season he's been solid.
Right, he's been great all year. That's something that it's a huge advantage in high school to have a kicker that you can trust. We had some issues earlier in the year with some snaps and things. We've got that fixed to move some guys around. But it's a weapon in high school to have somebody that can kick touchbacks, punt the ball high enough to where your coverage can stay good is an excellent advantage to have.
Bobcats have not had that huge return necessarily just yet. Is that something you guys are still working on as far as maybe popping and using that speed and athleticism for a big play off the special teams at some point?
Absolutely. We've kind of lost 2 of our return men this year. Cliff Garner's injured and hurt his knee. He's probably out for the rest of the year. And then Preston Wells, who returned the last couple of weeks, unfortunately had to transfer. And so we won't have him back there this week. But we've still got Tanner Holly. We're going to move Brandon Rowan back there some, and Peyton Hall, who's been back there the last few weeks too.
Let's kind of jump back out now from a coaching matchup. It sounds like this is going to be a hard-fought game. How do you see a way where the Cats can win this victory here on Thursday?
Well, we've had a great week of practice. Playing the Thursday game, we've actually bumped everything up a day. We came in Sunday afternoon. Normally we just watch film. This Sunday we lifted and we had a practice. We've come in. We don't have school this week, so we've come in Monday, Tuesday. Obviously tomorrow we'll come in again on Wednesday at 9:30. Had a great week of practice, great energy. Today was probably one of the best practices we've had all year, both sides of the ball. And then we're hitting the weights hard.
So it was 2 weeks ago, homecoming. Then last week you guys had the bye week. This week it's fall break. How has all that been kind of from a scheduling and schematic standpoint for you?
Well, I told somebody, a lot of people ask, how's it going? Can you handle it, or is everything going okay? And it's not that much difference being the head coach other than the logistics part of it. Once you get to practice, once you get in the game, you're coaching, you're doing what you love, and you're putting the kids in position to make plays. It's everything else that comes along with making decisions. What time we're going to practice? What do you do if kids are going to miss, or what if they're late, or who's feeding us when, things like that. But like I said, leaning on the other coaches and helping me kind of plan ahead, and some of our Bobcat moms have been great this year, leaning on them a little bit to help us. It's been an easy transition.
We touched on it in our first segment. Let's talk region standings. Bobcats, this is another critical game because the Cats still very much control their own destiny, not only for reaching the playoffs, but perhaps with hosting a game right here in the playoffs at the Brickyard.
Absolutely. That's something that we've stressed to our kids all week. Obviously, 1-6 is not where we want to be right now, but the one win's the last win, and that's what we're building off of, because you're only as good as your last game. That's what they always say. We're going to build off that. We've got 2 more opportunities in region games, and if everything goes well, there's a chance that we can host a football game. We're not trying to eke into the playoffs. We want to make the playoffs with a strong push and then make a run once we get there. And that's the mentality we've got to have. We've got to finish every play. We've got to finish every drive and finish every game. And we got to start with Page on Thursday.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys could do that with the win Thursday. Biggest key to victory in Thursday's contest as we close?
For me, it's communication always. Between the offensive line, who you're blocking, who we're picking up, what run play we're going to do, what pass play we're going to do, knowing my assignment and making sure the guy next to me knows it. Sometimes football goes quick with hurry-up offenses, and we're hurry-up on offense. You've got to trust the guy next to you so that you can do your job. And defensively, it's the same thing. It's what we preach at practice all week, all year. Don't assume the guy next to you knows what he's supposed to do. You tell him even if you know he knows. So we're all on the same page and we can be successful.
Well, Coach, as always, thanks for your time. Best of luck this Thursday. We'll speak with you next week, we hope, after a big Bobcats victory.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Coach's Corner Show. We've been presented, as always, by PES and Martin Methodist College. A reminder, Giles County in action this Thursday when they travel to Rudderville to take on the Page Patriots. For interim head coach Scott Blair, Wade Neely, so long from Sam Davis Park.